guys, ClintGarden.com, and of course, the house of biceps. All right, guys, I'm here late at night. It's after 1 a.m. and I'm outside, so I need to be kind of quiet for the neighbors. Had an interesting question. It came in earlier today. I left it inside, so I'm going to have to paraphrase a little bit. But he wanted to know if I wrote roughly the same programming for every client that I have. You know, this is an interesting question. It's a very valid question because it is a question that most people, if they answered correctly, would say yes. But that's not true. I'm going through my head right now. I'm recording with my phone that has my files on it. The rest of my files are on my computer. And then I have a pen and paper notebook that I work off of inside. If I'm going backwards from what I've worked on starting today and go back a couple of days, let me go through just a couple of names. Just got a text message while training from Ashley. I could nickname Ashley Cricket. I don't know how tall she is, but there is not a ton of meat on her bones. Tall, super athletic, just ridiculously zero fat whatsoever. Goals are to get more involved in powerlifting, strongman, anything. Works full-time basically as a handyman. So she works 24 hours a day, whatever needs to be done. Only gets 2 days a week that she can train, but wants to be good at everything. Other program that I worked on just before I came out here on that was another Ashley, two-time podium finisher at World's Strongest Woman, 600-pound raw deadlifter, and I mean just a belt, no suit, no straps, pulls 600 pounds, and works an extremely high-stress job. And you might say, oh, Clint, they're both women. They both, have similar goals. You could base things off of the same program. Fine. Just the client just before that was my training partner, Elia, 6'6", 400 pounds, depending on what he's eaten that day. Strongman Champions League, strongman athlete. He's had some big health issues in the last year and a half, a couple of surgeries. And you know what? You might say, okay, another strongman, you can program him similar to the second Ashley. Okay, I get it. Before that, I was working on some programming for Tim. That's right, Tim, even though you've just kind of fallen off wherever, I'm still always working on notes for you. Tim is mid-60s, and in the last, 6 months, he's had open heart surgery. Do you think I can program Tim the same way I can program all the others? We go back before that. Late last night, I was working on Pavlos. Pavlos is a natural strongman, competes in the Natural Strongman Federations, 2 times UK's natural strongest man, running for a third here in a couple of weeks. He's been to he went to the World Championships last year for natural strongest man, podium finisher. He may have been in 2 different classes, the 90s, 100s, 105s. Just shows up and does absolutely amazing. And you might say, yes, Clint, but he's still a strongman. If you think you can compare a 198-pound guy with a 400-pound guy with a woman and a cricket and a 65-year-old man. Sure, maybe you can continue stretching that out. We go back before that. The program before that was Mike. Mike spends anywhere between 13 and 20 days per month waking up in the mornings, getting on an airplane, flying somewhere with a really, really cool job. All I know is it involves the government and guns, to be quite honest. Has several kids and trains everywhere he goes. Competes every once in a while in strongman, every once in a while, maybe once a year. Powerlifting if a little contest shows up, but mostly a gym lifter with some really big goals. Just before that, Courtney. Courtney is another little cricket, and Courtney is, I keep wanting to say she weighs about 50 pounds soaking wet, but then I look at photos from her from a couple of years ago, and then I see photos of her now standing next to her friends when they do things, and I realize that she is a small person, but now has an extra 2 layers of human on her that the average person doesn't have. just growing muscle tissue. Mother of 4 who takes care of, I don't think any of her kids are in high school. She's had a major hip surgery, at least one, if not a hip replacement. And trains and trains and trains and takes care of kids. Do you think I can really program any of these people with the same program? I'm trying to go back and see who I did before that. A buddy of mine from Indiana, big Purdue fan. Jeremy, really, I'm working with him because his wife contacted me last Christmas. Not the Christmas before that it was his dream to work with me, and she bought him a 3-month program working with me, and he's just stayed with me. He is 6'6", works a fairly physical job, spends a lot of time in a small car, and has had a lot of back problems. That was the big thing when I began working with him. He has a power rack at home, and that's all he has. Works a lot of hours, and a newborn child does a lot of his training at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he's up all night with a newborn. Big thing with him was just getting him to making any kind of progress without hurting his back. Now he's making tons and tons of progress, and he has some stiff mornings, but he lives in the winter in Indiana, and he's 6'6", and he's not a young guy either. Do you really think that I can program him the same way that I can a 65-year-old, and as well as a 30-year-old mother of 4, or a father of a bunch of kids who's traveling nonstop, or a 400-pound strong man, or a couple of crickets? Absolutely not. And that's just since Saturday night, and it's Monday night. So absolutely not. I buy at least one ebook or some kind of educational book a week, and I study. I pick up programs. I use other people's programs nonstop. I always say that a good coach is someone who cares and tries. A coach is someone who cares and tries. A good coach is someone with lots of motivation and a really, really thick playbook. Has a lot of plays to choose from. But a great coach is someone who takes that big, thick book of plays and looks at the situation that's happening and knows exactly which play to pull out of that book at the exact right time and when to use it properly. And that's probably my biggest skill as a coach. I have as many of the plays as I can possibly have. I study them nonstop, and I have a pretty good idea on when to pull them out and when to use them with each individual client. So absolutely not. Don't use the same thing, not even the same principles, with even 2 clients. That keeps it fun, guys. That keeps it fun. Hope it answers your question. Have a great one.